Do you want him thinking about you, even when he swears he's already forgotten you? Do you want to stop being just another woman in his life and become that emotional presence that disarms him in a way he can't explain? Then listen carefully, because you're not here to beg for love or to prove your worth. You're here to awaken an emotional magnetism that can't be faked, and even less so, forgotten. This video isn't some cheap seduction trick. It's a psychological and energetic revelation that can turn you into a true emotional addiction, the kind people don't easily get over, because it embeds itself not in the skin, but deep in the unconscious mind. I'm going to take you from that place where you try so hard to fit in to the place where you're desired, respected, and remembered without even trying. And I'm going to do it based on the raw psychology of Carl Jung, who showed us that power lies in what you project from your integrated shadow. And believe me, a woman who knows herself, who regulates herself, and who loves herself even in her darkness, becomes dangerously unforgettable. People don't obsess over the one who gives everything. They obsess over the one who stirs something deep inside them. There's an uncomfortable truth nobody tells you. Giving your all guarantees absolutely nothing. You can give yourself completely, be available, love with all your soul, solve his problems, be there during the hard times, shower him with thoughtful gestures, show him your best self, and still, that person might not think about you, might not obsess over you, might not miss you. Why? Because the mind doesn't attach itself to what you give. It attaches itself to what you awaken. And what creates the deepest obsession isn't your devotion, it's the feeling of emotional depth you provoke. Human beings become addicted to whatever activates a hidden part of their soul. Sometimes it's something beautiful, sometimes it's something dark, but it's always something profound. And if you become the doorway to an emotional place he's never felt with anyone else, he won't be able to let you go so easily. Let me tell you a true story that illustrates this point. Chris was 33 years old. She was convinced that to make someone fall in love, you had to be the perfect partner. She was dating a man who seemed perfect for her. He was attentive, polite, emotionally stable. But after a few months, he left. Just like that, no drama. He simply said, "I don't know what's wrong with me, but I feel like something's missing." She couldn't understand it. She'd been an impeccable girlfriend. She'd been there for him. They'd never fought. She'd done everything right, and yet he didn't choose her. Months went by. Chris rebuilt herself and met another man, one who, from the very first day, shook her emotionally. He wasn't aggressive, chaotic, or toxic, but he was deep. She didn't feel the need to please him. She felt the need to be real. She didn't have to maintain an image. She had to allow herself to feel. With him, Chris wasn't the perfect partner. She was simply herself, scars and all, opinions and all, with her rawest energy. And he, without her trying to win him over, became addicted to her presence. Why? Because Chris was no longer a woman seeking approval. She was a woman who made you look inward. And that energy, my friend, can be felt. From Carl Jung's perspective, this is explained through a fascinating concept: emotional projection. We all project our own unrecognized inner parts onto other people. And do you know when someone becomes addicted to you? When you become the mirror reflecting something in them they didn't know existed. Maybe you reflect a forgotten tenderness, or a buried rage, or a repressed sensuality. It doesn't matter whether it's light or shadow. The important thing is that you make them feel something. And humans become addicted to whoever makes them feel something they can't easily explain. The problem is, so many people believe that to create emotional connection, they have to please, be perfect, be good. But what truly binds someone to you is what you awaken in their inner world. And that's where your true power begins. You don't have to be sweeter. You have to be more honest about your own vibration. You don't have to fix his life. You have to let yourself vibrate from your authentic emotional intensity. And here's a powerful secret. Every time you hide your truth to please others, you lose magnetism. Every time you fake calm when you're burning inside, you lose energy. Every time you say yes when you want to say no, you lose connection with yourself, and therefore with him or her. And that disconnection is palpable. Energy doesn't lie. But when you live from your soul, when you don't apologize for being intense, deep, free, even chaotic in your light, something happens. The other person can't forget you because you generate something they can't find anywhere else. It's as if you carry a code inside you that activates their unconscious. Not because you give them artificial peace, but because you make them feel alive. And let me warn you, being this way isn't for everyone. Not everyone will understand you. Many will leave, but the ones who stay, the ones who come back, the ones who dream about you, are the ones ready for your frequency. And that's when you stop chasing love and start becoming the emotional addiction no one can get over. Now listen closely. Becoming that unforgettable presence isn't about playing hard to get. It's about understanding how the deep psyche works, how the energetic field operates, and how your emotional truth is worth far more than 1,000 strategies. Because giving everything doesn't make someone fall in love, but making them feel something that connects them to their soul leaves a permanent mark. And now that you know this, get ready, because in the next part, I'm going to reveal one of the most intense psychological secrets. Why does the mind attach itself to what it can't control? And how can you use this to your advantage, without manipulation and without ever lowering yourself? The mind doesn't obsess over perfection. The mind obsesses over unpredictability. Before we go on, if this message is already stirring something inside you, subscribe right now and hit like. That way we let YouTube know this content is valuable and worth recommending. Thank you so much. Listen closely. If you think you're going to make him fall in love by being perfect, always available, pleasing, and endlessly logical, I've got brutal news for you. Perfection doesn't create obsession. Perfection is boring. And not because you're boring, but because the human brain doesn't stay hooked on what it completely understands. The mind becomes obsessed with what it can't predict, what it can't control, what generates a feeling of emotional uncertainty, but also of depth. And here we're not talking about being manipulative or playing ridiculous games. No, we're talking about being a real woman, vibrant, deep, emotionally free, a woman who doesn't respond from programming, but from her truth. A woman who sometimes smiles and sometimes remains silent, who doesn't conform to expectations, but also doesn't feel the need to justify herself. And do you know why that's so captivating? Because in a world where everyone wears masks, coming face to face with someone authentic is a stimulus the unconscious simply can't ignore. Let me tell you another true story. Vanessa, 35 years old, was in a relationship where she was always the good one, the one who never argued, the one who listened patiently, the one who sought agreement, peace, harmony. And yes, he appreciated her, but he didn't think about her the way she wanted. He didn't pursue her passionately. He didn't dream about her. Until one day during a casual conversation, Vanessa suddenly blurted out something unexpected. "I don't always agree with you, but I'm not going to keep trying to convince you." He went silent. This woman who had always been so accommodating was suddenly speaking from her core. And that day, for the first time, he started thinking about her more than usual. What changed? Vanessa stopped being predictable. She stopped acting like the good girl and started being real. From Carl Jung's deep psychology, this connects to the anima and animus dynamic. Within every human being, there's an internal archetype of the opposite that both complements and activates us emotionally. When you, as a woman, embody aspects of his anima, not the idealized version, but the real one, you connect him to both his shadow and his light, and that destabilizes him, but not in a bad way, in a profound one. Suddenly, you stop being just another woman and become that presence that makes him reflect on himself. And when the unconscious finds someone who makes it reflect, it doesn't let go. You don't need to shout. You just need vibrational presence. You don't need to hurt. You just need to respond from your emotional center. That's what the other person's soul recognizes as authentic. And authenticity, even if it's not always comfortable, creates fixation. Because obsession isn't synonymous with toxicity. Obsession, at its most human core, is what happens when someone leaves an emotional imprint that can't be erased. And that imprint doesn't come from the person who's always there. It comes from the person who stands firm, from the one who doesn't beg for love but radiates it, From the one who doesn't chase but also doesn't hide. From the one who doesn't beg but doesn't make herself inaccessible either. From the woman who is simply herself with her entire emotional mystique laid bare. And that activates something even deeper, emotional memory. The mind remembers the person who made it feel something unlike anything else. And the more unpredictable your way of moving through life becomes, the way you look, the way you respond, the way you're present, and the way you withdraw, the more you leave your mark on him, the more you throw him off balance, and the more you keep him coming back to you, even if he never admits it. But here's where the danger lies. Many women, once they discover this principle, start trying to force their unpredictability. They play hard to get, pretend not to reply, fake emotions, and that doesn't work, because the other person's unconscious mind can always detect what's fake. It's not about being unpredictable as a strategy. It's about being unstoppable by nature. When your soul is free, it cannot be controlled. And in the language of deep emotion, that's perceived as pure magnetism. So now ask yourself, are you repeating a script to please others? Or are you allowing your emotional truth to flow? Even if it sometimes makes people uncomfortable. Because as long as you keep acting the way people expect you to, you'll keep getting the results people expect. But when you dare to be the woman who vibrates from her center, even if that means confusing or unsettling others, then you become unforgettable. And yes, you become addictive. Now listen to this. Once you understand how the mind attaches itself to what it can't fully explain, you have to learn how to handle the energy you radiate. Because simply being unpredictable isn't enough. You have to understand how to project an emotional field that envelops him without ever losing your own power. And that's what I'm going to teach you in the next section. I'll show you how to use your energetic magnetism from a place of balance so that you capture his soul without ever ceasing to be yourself. Your energy is his drug. The secret isn't in what you do, it's in what you radiate without even realizing it. There's something nobody ever explained to you clearly, yet it's happening all the time, even right now. Your energy is a frequency that directly impacts the other person's emotional mind, and that frequency either pulls him toward you with mysterious force or leaves him completely indifferent, even if you're doing everything right. What many women don't realize is that deep emotional connection doesn't just depend on your looks, or your charm, or the thoughtful gestures you show him. Above all, it depends on the kind of energetic field you activate when you're present. And that field isn't formed by what you pretend, it's formed by what you vibrate in your most natural state. Carl Jung used to say that everything unconscious operates as fate, and that includes the way your shadow, your desire, and your self-image are all being transmitted wordlessly to the other person. Because it's not what you say that makes him come back. It's that particular energy he only feels when he's with you. That unique mix of calm and vertigo he can't experience with anyone else. And let me tell you something powerful. You don't need to try harder. You need to clean up your vibration. Because if you're vibrating from lack, from I want him to like me, from I hope he chooses me, he may not consciously think it, but his soul will detect it. And even if he can't explain why, he'll start pulling away. Why? Because what creates emotional obsession isn't the energy of need. It's the energy of wholeness. Let me share a true story. Vivian, 30 years old, had always been the kind of woman who tried to please, to fit in, to adapt. And although men were often very attracted to her at first, they always lost interest over time. Until one day after a painful breakup, she decided to change something far deeper than her look or her strategy, her vibration. She began healing the wounds that made her feel inadequate. She stopped seeking external validation. She started meditating, writing, working on her self-esteem, and above all, reconnecting with her personal joy, her inner world, and her authentic feminine energy. She didn't start speaking louder. She didn't become sarcastic. She didn't memorize power phrases. But her presence started to feel different, heavier, more magnetic, more whole. And the result was completely unexpected. An ex who had never truly valued her depth came back. But this time, not because she chased him. It was because he started dreaming about her, remembering her, missing her, as if something invisible were pulling him back into her energetic field. And what changed? She stopped emitting the vibration of lack and started radiating the energy of wholeness. Jung would explain it like this. When a person inhabits their self, the central archetype of the soul, that presence begins to exert a natural attraction, not because of what they say, but because they emit an energy that organizes, that impacts, that activates something profound in the unconscious of the other. And how do you build that energy? Not through effort, but through emotional awareness. When you look at yourself in the mirror and truly recognize yourself, when you claim your space without asking for permission, when you know who you are and stop begging for anyone to remind you, that's the day your vibration changes. And without doing anything outwardly different, you start to affect the emotional body of anyone who crosses your path. And that's what creates emotional addiction. The feeling that life with you is different, a depth that not everyone offers, a connection that not everyone understands, but that no one forgets. The key lies in this phrase you must remember. The soul doesn't attach itself to what's pretty. It attaches itself to what made it feel something it can't explain. And that, woman, is what you generate. When you focus more on how you vibrate than on how you act. When you're so in tune with yourself that anyone looking at you can't help but wonder, what is it about this woman that shakes me to my core? And I'm going to give you a practical exercise so you can start right now. Before every encounter, ask yourself, where am I vibrating from today? From the fear of losing him or from the joy of being myself? Take a deep breath. Visualize a golden light surrounding your body and filling you with certainty. Connect with your chest and repeat, I am enough. I am magnetism in the form of a woman. My energy does not beg, it expands. Because only when you treat yourself as something sacred will the other person start perceiving you that way, even if he doesn't understand why. And now that you understand that energy is everything, it's time to reveal an even more powerful principle. What makes someone not only remember you, but completely unable to get you out of their head, even when they're with other people? There's a way to embed yourself into his emotional memory permanently, without ever ceasing to be you. And that's what you're going to discover in the next part. What comes next could transform your presence forever. How do you install yourself in his mind? The power of anchored emotion and the symbolic unconscious. Listen carefully. A woman doesn't become unforgettable because of what she does. She becomes unforgettable because of how she makes him feel in the most unexpected moment. And that is the exact formula to imprint yourself onto his unconscious. Intense emotions, plus invisible symbols, plus unexpected moments. Let me tell you right now, if you want to become his emotional addiction without losing your power, it's not about being present all the time. It's about leaving symbolic footprints that keep triggering in his mind, even when you're not around. Carl Jung spoke of the symbolic unconscious, that deep level where archetypes, hidden meanings, and emotional symbols shape our decisions without us even realizing it. And I assure you, that is the key to becoming an emotional archetype within him. Not just another woman, but that unique figure who represents something so profound that she becomes irreplaceable. And to achieve that, you need three things: an intense emotional moment, a personal symbol tied to it, an energetic contrast that both unsettles and attracts him at the same time. It might sound complicated, but let me explain it through a story. Let me tell you what Vanessa experienced. Vanessa was an intense woman, but very sure of herself. She was dating a man who was used to women who did nothing but please him. Then Vanessa came along. Vanessa didn't just listen to him. She stripped him emotionally with her gaze. She challenged him with simple but piercing questions. One day in the middle of a tense conversation, she said something he would never forget. I don't know if you're looking for love or anesthesia, but I didn't come here to fall asleep with you. I came to wake you up. And right after saying that, she stood up, gently stroked his neck, smiled at him, and left. No drama. No need for manipulation. Just a symbolic phrase, a coherent action, and an energy that kept vibrating in the air. Do you know what happened afterward? He couldn't stop thinking about that sentence for weeks. He dreamed about her. He'd hear a song and remember her. He'd see a red scarf and her image would pop into his mind. Why? because Vanessa had triggered an intense emotion in him. She'd exposed him emotionally and left him with a symbol, a phrase that defined him more than he wanted to admit. That's what a woman does who understands her emotional power. She creates moments he can't let go of. And not because she's trying to control him, but because she leaves a mark through the symbolic, the invisible, through things the mind can't explain, but the soul feels. Jung said that what we don't integrate, we project. And many times a man projects onto you his deepest need, to be truly seen, to be confronted, to be touched by something beyond just a body, something real, emotional, and energetic. And how can you achieve this? Here's your practical guide to implant yourself in his emotional unconscious. Create a personal phrase, something that makes him see himself, that confronts him or inspires him. Say it in an unexpected moment. That phrase will echo in his mind. Pair that phrase with powerful nonverbal energy, a pause, a look, a gesture. Don't over-explain. The symbolic is remembered far more than what's explained. Use a unique physical symbol, a scent, a bracelet, a song that only the two of you share. Something simple but charged with emotion. Make him feel something deep without begging. You can touch his soul even by walking away. Remember, what vibrates strongly stays. Disappear at your best moment. Don't wait until the energy has faded to leave. Leave when you're vibrating high. That way, your last impression will be unforgettable. Because in the end, the woman who becomes his obsession isn't the one who stays. She's the one who leaves her energy imprinted in every corner of his emotional memory. And it's not about manipulating him. It's about showing him a part of himself that only with you he was able to feel. Never forget this. It's not your presence that keeps him hooked. It's the emotional effect your absence leaves behind. And that effect, when it's created from a place of power and not from need, becomes magnetic. And now that you know how to leave an emotional and symbolic mark that's impossible to erase, you must prepare for something even more powerful. How to trigger his impulse to seek you out without you lifting a finger. There's a psychological pattern that awakens the chase, and you're about to learn it. What comes next is pure strategic fire. How to trigger the impulse to pursue you. The art of meaningful emptiness. Now let me tell you what very few women understand. A man doesn't become addicted to you because of what you give him. He becomes addicted because of what he starts to need when you're no longer there. And that need doesn't happen by accident. It's triggered strategically when you learn how to create emptiness with intention. But not just any emptiness. This isn't about vanishing suddenly or disappearing as a way to play mind games. That's cheap manipulation. And that's not what you're here for. You're here to become the woman who doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't lower herself, yet is sought after, desired, and remembered with emotional hunger. And the secret lies in what Carl Jung called the principle of psychic polarity. Every impulse needs tension in order to stay alive. When the tension disappears, desire dies. Do you realize how profound this is? It means that if you're constantly available, predictable, present, fixing everything, giving, offering yourself, waiting, you're extinguishing the tension that keeps his interest awake. You're putting out the fire with your own hands. But if you learn to manage your energy, if you know when to give and when to pull back, if you build a powerful presence and then withdraw with elegance, you create an emptiness full of meaning. An emptiness that doesn't breed indifference, but curiosity. An emptiness that doesn't feel like rejection, but mystery. And well-handled mystery is the driving force behind every emotional obsession. Let me tell you about something Marion experienced. She'd been dating a man for months, a man who was intense, successful, used to getting everything he wanted. At first, Marion was charming, ever-present, giving him everything. But one day her energy shifted, not because he did anything wrong, but because she woke up to her own power. She started pulling back at certain moments. She stopped replying instantly. Her messages became shorter, more vibrant, less available. But every time she showed up, her presence was magnetic, powerful, unforgettable. And when he asked her, "Are you being distant or just busy?" She smiled and gave him an answer that left him speechless. I'm prioritizing myself. When I spend time with you, it's because I choose to, from my center, not from lack. That phrase was a blow, but not the kind that pushes someone away. It was the kind that woke him up. Because suddenly Marion stopped being just another woman. She became an emotional challenge. A woman who doesn't bend, who isn't afraid to lose, who lives from the abundance of her self-love. And that, my friend, that is addictive. It's not her fragrance, not her body, not her sweetness. It's her certainty that she's worth gold and that she's not giving herself away cheaply. And you can do exactly the same. But to do it, you need to follow this strategic emotional guide. Don't pull back as punishment. Pull back as self-affirmation. When you withdraw, do it without drama, without lengthy explanations. Let your silence speak from self-love. Cultivate such a rich inner world that you don't depend on his attention. When your life is full of purpose, projects, and presence, your energy changes. You stop begging. You start radiating. Respond in your time, not from anxiety. Every time you're waiting for a message and force yourself to reply quickly so you don't lose him, you're actually losing yourself. Respond from your center, not from fear. When you're with him, be unforgettable. When you're not with him, be unreachable. That's the perfect alchemy. Presence with impact. Absence with meaning. Use your energy like a signature. Make sure every encounter with you leaves such a deep emotional mark that even when you're not there, he feels your essence in his chest, as if it's an echo. And do you know what happens when you do this? He starts thinking about you, not out of obligation, but out of pure impulse. He starts looking at your photos, searching for your voice in songs, imagining what it would be like to truly have you, not as a game, but as a conscious choice. And that, my dear, is when you stop being his easy option and become his strongest impulse. Carl Jung said it clearly, what is repressed returns in the form of destiny. And when you become a repressed emotional experience for him, a piece of unresolved energy, you become his emotional destiny. Not because you're chasing him, but because you vibrate so high, so firm, so magnetically, that his unconscious mind simply can't let you go. And now that you know this, now that you feel this power pulsing inside you, I want you to engrave this phrase into your mind as your final mantra. My absence is not emptiness. It's the place where he discovers how much he misses me. That, my friend, is the final step to becoming his emotional addiction, without ever losing your power. And what comes next is only for brave women, because there's a truth almost nobody dares to accept. If you're not attracting him today, it's because you're still not vibrating as that unforgettable woman, but you can activate her, and that's exactly what I'm going to show you in the next video. Get ready. If you've made it this far, you already know. It's not about manipulating him. It's not about chasing him. It's not about begging for love, attention, or presence. It's about reconnecting with your essential magnetism, the magnetism that never begs, that's never sold cheap, that vibrates with such confidence it doesn't need to shout to be heard. You're not here to be his refuge when it's convenient, or his comfortable option when everything else fails. You're here to be the emotional experience he simply cannot forget. And the most powerful part is that you can achieve this without losing yourself. Carl Jung taught us that the unconscious is the true field where destiny is created. And when you become a vibrational experience that leaves a mark on his soul, there's no distance, no excuse, and no forgetting that can erase you. So stop worrying about what he thinks. Stop crafting messages to keep his interest. Stop being the woman who dissolves herself to please, and become the woman who, simply by being, is unforgettable. Now I want to invite you to do something. Comment below with this powerful phrase if you truly feel this video has touched something inside you. I become his desire without losing my power. Write it boldly, not just for me, but for yourself. Because every word you declare with awareness is a direct command to the universe about who you're ready to become. If this message resonated with your soul, it's time to take the next step. Subscribe now so you can keep raising your vibration with every new video. Give this video a like so more souls can hear what has freed you today. Share this video with someone you know who also needs to let go in order to heal. And of course, leave your declaration in the comments so this message is sealed into your energy. But above all, don't leave just yet. There's so much more waiting for you. Dive into the other videos here on the channel and keep expanding your energy and your power. I'll see you in the next video.